we'll find ourselves on page Reish Daled. I'm not going to read the blurb. I'm going to go through the, we'll just go through it like we did and I'm trying to get to the back. Okay, anyway. Number Yud Aleph says, let me see what else, what I got here. 1 second. Okay. Mispashtan Asvan Levatar. So they spread the letters, he says the letters spread going backwards. So the question is about these letters. Hineo Osius, these 3 letters. Now these are the letters he's talking about. Yud, K, and Vov. Those that come from Erich Anpin. Shenis Adrachel Ba'oris Chochmech Bina Das Shebekeser, that were covering over, I mean you say like that, of the lights of Chochmah Bina Das Shebekeser. Means the lights, I think, that are inside of these letters. So he says, Mispashtim Acher Kach Besod Mochin, then they spread, we call them Mochin now, but called Guf Erich Anpin. So he says, is Kolal Ulu Bezer de Anpin, and they become incorporated into Zair Anpin. V'acher kach nechlalim edo ha'osius Yaakov Rosh Zair Anpin, they become incorporated, the letters themselves, which have these lights in them, the lights of the Yaakov, so that are inside of them. Zair Anpin besod mochin chochma bina das, and there they see more manifestation, and we see them as mochin now of chochma bina das. And bavar kama the sharia begulgolta ishtakach mispashti bekol gufa. That means that it was the way that they were in the Rosh of Erich Anpin, which is a question about what exactly were they, how were they? But he talked about the Yud, which is the Kruma Stimah, which is the Kruma over the Mocha Stimah, and he talked about that's the Yud, and then he talked about it. We'll see it more. Okay, I'm sorry. Kama the Sharya Begulgalta, the same way that they were lined up or originated there, but in the formation, I think, Mispashtim Bekal Gufa, then they spread into the entire body. Gemoshe Erich Anpin, Maskel Makum Osius Yaakov, there we see, so he explains it out now, that the 3 letters, Yaakil, Lamala Begulgalta Erich Anpin, Bebechina B'mochim Sheberosh, and there the Mochim and his Rosh, V'acher Kach, then after that, Mispashtim Lamata Bekol the Guf Canal, they spread down below throughout his whole entire body. Kachu Gam B'Zair Anpin, in the same process in Zair Anpin, Maschila L'Hoyer L'Mala B'Golgolta Zair Anpin, that's where they start to shine up above in the Golgoltas of Erich Anpin. B'Bechinis B'Mochim Choch B'Bein Das V'Acher Kach Mispashtim L'Mata B'Guf Zair Anpin, and then they spread downwards into the body of Zair Anpin. V'Inyan Huki Oros Elo Nimshachim B'Hidach B'Zoch HaMuach the Zair Anpin. So he says now, he said what? That these lights, they flow, to begin with, into the Muach of Zair Anpin, Derek Saros Rosh Erich Anpin, through the hairs that are running down the back of the head of Erich Anpin, so to speak, Kamosha Yisbar L'Holon, which is going to talk about that later, a little bit more, later on. V'achar kach mispashtim beguf Zair Anpin, v'omer od l'shichlolo kula, so that all of that Shefa, I don't know, ki inyan his pashtus ha'oras the osius Yaakov Zair Anpin hu kadei l'shechla v'lesakem as Zair Anpin b'shefa v'or, is in order to be able to put Zair Anpin, okay, bring him alive, u'beli shefa b'racha shal osius Yaakov. So if you don't have these 3 letters, meaning once again the 3 letters represent the mochin, inside the mochin of the oros of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. So Bishal Osius Yaakov Elyonos the Erich Anpin Elyonos the Erich Anpin, which coming from the highest place there. Ein Kiyum the Osius Yaakov B'Tachtonda the Zair Anpin, but there's no chance for them to maintain themselves without that. V'Omer Ba'amin the Kod Tali. Now this goes into some translations. Aros Rosh Erich Anpin and Nekroim Omer Naki, which are called by that name, which is pure, let's call it pure clean wool, like white wool, Tlu Hindu Mishtalshlim, the mata, they hang down, they go down low. So they hang off of the head. We see this in other different places where we talk about this. Talian Eden Asvan. So then he says these hairs, or these, now he doesn't say hairs, he says these letters, they hang in there as ha'oros da osius Yaakov. So that's why I got into the oros idea, because he says Azai ha'oros da osius Yaakov. That is the oros that are inside of these three letters. Erich Anpin nimshachim b'sa'aros. They flow into the hairs of which are called the hairs of Amar Naki. Behelam Godel in a very, very hidden way. Belia Kaldahu. So I spent a little time trying to figure out what he meant by Batalia here means. He means that they're hanging. But so what? So he says, so that it bothered me. So they hang, but he says Kaldahu, just a little bit. They're a little bit hanging a little bit. So I looked into this. It actually goes into this idea, Behelam Gadol. I looked down here a little bit, that these two ideas go together. They are hanging down, but they're hanging in a way that is very hidden or very transparent, so that it's there, but it's not there in the sense that we're going to see that in Zair Anpin, the mochin actually appear. So he said, Vihinis aras Elohim aruchim, they're long. And they fall down into the area where the hairs of Zair Anpin is. And through this, I guess he didn't say through this, but this process causes them to shine into the head of Zair Anpin. So you see, there's been some kind of a process that took place, or some kind of a transmission. Zair Anpin yonek mechem shefa v'or, and so therefore he feeds off of them the flow that's coming through them and that tremendous light that's inside. Vayidei kach nizonin amochen Zair Anpin v'nisaktim b'tosefes ha'ara, and they become rebuilt b'tosefes ha'ara. Now, rebuilding always means, it's a little contradiction in just a little. He says that nisaknin means that they are put into the proper place to be mismayat the light. And this has a result about Tosefes Ha'ara, the additional amount of light of the Ein Sof, coming into him. V'oz mekabel Zair Anpin ha'oros de'osius Yaakov b'mochim shalo. So the lights that are inside the Yaakov, he's able to get them, and he's able to use them for himself to build. It's able to be used to build him up. V'arma od kad iskele the ze'erev. Because Osius Yud K involved Lamata, so when those letters appear in Zair Anpin, Al Yedecha Besarvas Omer Naki, and this comes about through the hairs of these, which we're calling the Omer Naki, this Yashvim Be Elon Asvon, that these letters actually reside in there, Miss Yashvim, they settle into that place, Beiskri Bahom, and then they be called by names. Let's see what he means, if I got that right. As Miss Yashim and Miss Galan Zair Anpin Osis Yud K Vav Elu, Vaz Nikva Zair Anpin B'Shem Yaakov, and then Zair Anpin at this point is called by the name Yud K Vav. You could call him by that actually name. He is the Yud K Vav. Is that what he means? He's a Lamala Erich Anpin. That's the contrast. No, the Yisyashvach of Osius Yaakov, we don't consider them like letters. So what is that? The lo havin bechem Osius mamish, because they're not really letters. They're not so concrete. Ela Osius Yaakov rumozim Erich Anpin, but these letters have are remez to Erich Anpin. It's kind of a little bit deeper idea. What does it mean by remez Erich Anpin? Because they're so what would you say? So transparent, so nothing. There's so little to them. I think that's maybe the idea. Erich Anpin, Behelam Gadol, or the Tluya Kaldahu. There's this phrase, the Tluya Kaldahu. It's not like there's a mop of hair on top of the head moving down there. It's like you could barely see it. I think that's what he means when he says the Tluya Kaldahu. Okay, so I guess we'll stop here, which was a little bit more view into the Rosh of Erich Anpin and development of Zair Anpin, and we'll go over to the next part, which has a few words in it that I was not really accustomed to seeing. Let me turn this down and